to learn how to use random in Python. So we're going to be generating random numbers. Now, first thing you're going to read about this when you look into it. And first thing to mention is that this is they're only pseudo-random. They're not truly random, so they're going to be kind of predictable, and you shouldn't use them for security purposes like cryptography or anything like that. So with that said, let's just start creating our script here, our little example script. Now, to run random, you just have to import the random library and then call the random function to get a random number. Now, you don't have to specify a seed, but you can. And let me show you how this behaves first. So I'm going to write this out, right? So here's our script. Now, first thing we do is we import random, then we set a seed value, right? Call random.seed, specify 5, and we'll show you why that's important in just a bit. And we call random 3 times here to give us 3 random numbers. We're going to want to make sure we print this out because we're not running directly from the interpreter. Print. So we're just going to print these values just so we can see them. Let's get this in here real quick and get this run just so we can see some actual real results. So let's clear our screen here and let's run our script. So we see it gives us 3 numbers, right? Now, that's all fine and great. Now, each of these numbers is different. It's a different random number, right? A lot of digits there. We can control that. We'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But three numbers like that. Now, if you run Python, you run our script again, right? Now, you notice three numbers. Now, each of these numbers is different. But notice the numbers we got above are the same that we got here in order. So this first number matches the first number. Second number matches the second number. So the numbers are always going to be the same. Sure, each time you call random in the same script, it's going to be a different number. But each time you run that script, it's going to, it's going to be a predictable sequence of numbers. So the sequence of numbers is predictable. So you can guess what it's going to be. And that's why it's bad to use for cryptography and stuff. If you want something that's truly random, this is why we call it a pseudo-random number generator, right? So, hopefully that makes sense and that's kind of useful. So what we're going to do is so remember so notice this is the same sequence every single time. That's what the seed does, right? Now we can change the seed from a 5 to a 2, right? Let's see what the results are there. Now run our script again and notice we have a different series of numbers. We got like 95, 94, 5 rather than a 62, 74, 79, right? So we have a different sequence of numbers. It's going to be the same each time so long as we have that seed. So when you change the seed, that's a different initial seed value, so the sequence is going to be different. Now every time you run it with the same seed, same values, right? So let's say change this back to 5, right? And we can kind of predict what it's going to be, right? So run it again. We have that same thing, 62, 74, 79. That's what we had up here at the top here, 62, 74, 79. So, you could set the seed to whatever you want. You could make it like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you're going to get a whole different series of numbers. So that's all fine and great. Now, if you remove the seed, let's see here, run this here, you get this value. Run it again, you get another set of values. So I believe it's just picking a random seed value. I forget exactly how that's supposed to initialize it, but it's still a pseudo-random number, and you shouldn't use it for you should not be using this for security purposes. So yeah, you can totally take out the seed value, and it's completely optional. I'm not going to get into the behavior of running it without specifying a seed right at the moment, but any case, so we've got this demonstrated already, right? Now we're going to look at a few of the things you can do with random numbers. There are a few more parameters you can pass. Now, say if you don't want a bunch of decimal places like that, you can actually you can actually specify a range, right? And if you want it to be positive integers, you can specify that. Now notice above we were just calling random. Well, we can call randint, and this is going to, and we're going to print it out. So we're calling random randint, passing that to the print function just so we see it. Notice we're passing two parameters. Well, first off, we're not calling them random function anymore. We're calling randint to get integers, right? And we're calling we're specifying between 5 and 25. So we're going to get a value between those two, right? So let's just duplicate this line, and I'm going to try to let's just see if this works without a parameter too. So let's try both of these lines. Now let's run our script again. There we go, and yeah, so look looks like randint requires two parameters, so you need to specify a range. So let's remove that line, save it, and let's run this again. So there we go. Let's clear the screen a little bit, run it again. Okay, so first three values that we had above there, then we print out a random integer 25, right? Run it again. It's pretty predictable that it's going to be 25 every time. But let's say if we go like this, write it, and let's run our script again. Now we get different values each time, 25, 21, 5, you know, using a seed of 5, right? So, you know, every time we run it, we're going to get that predictable sequence of numbers. Let's just get rid of these three at the top, just to clean up our output a little bit. Let's run this again. There we go. Expected, okay, after having removed those first three, so apparently calling those just, you know, progresses how the sequence of numbers go. So without those, you're going to get different, with a seed of 5 and without those initial calls to random, these are going to give us different value. It's going to have a different sequence, right? So let's run this again a few times just to see how it behaves. Call this 1, 2, 3 times. So notice expected series of numbers each time, right? Now it's going to change if you update it, just like if you update the seed, just like we showed you before. But let's move along. There are some other things we can show. Now, let's pick a random range or a random number from 40 to 100, but step of 2, right? So we're going to call the rand_range function. And we're just going to paste this at the bottom. We're just going to keep adding functions to our script here, right? So let's save that and let's call this. So empty range for rand_range. Yeah, it would appear this is basically just telling us that it's a value error. So empty range for rand_range. So the range we're specifying is empty, right? So let's change this to a 10 and this to a 40, right? And let's see how this behaves. All right, let's run this. And there we go. So apparently you can't, you know, it doesn't step down. Maybe if we were to change the direction of stepping. But there we go. This gives us a range of numbers from 10 to 40, stepping by 2 each time. So, yeah, is that what that? Yeah. Anyways, 24, 13, 16, 34. I'm not 100% clear as to why it it terminates where it did. Like, see, it's terminating at 34. Is that because the next jump happened to be over 40? Obviously it's not. It's not producing a sequential range. It's random numbers, and they're not incrementing by 2. I'm honestly not sure, what the significance of this is, or why that ends up running 4 times like that. But it's predictable, if nothing else. So I would have to look into the behavior of this function a little bit more. But I want to try something just to see if this works. So let's try specifying numbers going where the second number is lower. Let's see if we can use a negative value here. Now this is supposed to be start, stop, and increment. So yeah, let's see how this works. Let's run this again. All right, it looks like that works. It looks like it doesn't have a huge, it's not like it's going, here we go down then up. So it doesn't look like, I guess this makes it a valid range, but yeah, that's kind of strange. So, if you're going from a higher number to a lower number, you need a negative, but it's not like the next number is always going to be lower. The next number in the series is always going to be lower or higher. It can go down and up, and I'm not sure where it gets the complete number, used for this range. Why does it only print out 4 in the sequence? I'm actually not sure. I wonder if I were to change that to a -1, what's this going to give us? Same thing. That doesn't seem to have much value at all. So say if we made this a 0 to 10, step by 5. Okay. And what if we step by 1? So stepping by 1, and let's say if we just left this variable out altogether. All right, similar. So that doesn't seem to have any effect. All right. Any case, interesting behavior with this. I wish I could tell you more today, but that's as far as I'm going with that particular function. So let's move on to the next function. So let's we're gonna pick. So this next one is random choice. So randomly pick one of the options in a sequence. So this is kind of interesting and useful. So if you have a certain sequence, you basically specify a sequence, right? Here we can specify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going to randomly choose one of those, but it's only going to choose something out of the sequence that we gave it. So this is a little bit more interesting. Let's run this, and let's just remove these. I was going to add everything all together, but let's just remove those. And there we go, 5, right? Now every time it's picking 5, that's not super interesting. We could change the seed value to 3, and I gotta wonder what this is going to be. 2. Okay, so with a seed value of 2, or with a seed value of 3, it's always going to pick 2. Now you could pick random choices. Now let's print this out a few times, and you notice it picks. So each time. So we ran this 6 times. Each time it picks a random number from this sequence that we pass it, right? And with the seed value of 3, it's going to start with this. It's going to give us this sequence. So every time we run it, we're going to get this. So kind of similar behavior to before with seed values and all that. So that's all fine and great. Let's say pick a random sample of 4 elements from a. Okay, so similar example, but let's delete that and paste this in here. So almost the same thing. We're telling it, instead of a choice, we're telling it to pick a sample. So instead of picking, we still pass a sequence, but instead of passing, instead of just picking one item from the sequence, we're telling it to pick a sample from the sequence. So we're telling it to pick any 4 elements from this sequence, right? So sample 4 elements, that's k equals 4 from the sequence. Let's try this running and calling the function once, and it picked 4 elements. It picked a 4, a 5, a 7, and a 2. So they're not in order or anything. It did 4, 5, 7, 2. So just randomly picked 4 of them and gave us a random sample. So that's actually pretty neat, right? So let's say if we run this a few times, right? All right, let's run this again, and there we go. 4 random samples from this series. So that's pretty interesting. Good to be aware that exists and everything. Now you can shuffle the order of elements in an array like this. So random has this shuffle function. Who would have ever guessed that they would include something like this in the random library? But let's first create a list here, and we are then going. I should have just copied this whole block, right? Copy this, paste it here. So now let's just run this real quick and then explain what it does. But it's kind of self-explanatory. So random sequence there. So we have a series, or we have a list, right? That's it's a sequence of numbers in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we call random shuffle and pass our list, and then we print out our list, and we'll notice our list has been shuffled, right? Now, one interesting thing to notice is that it doesn't just shuffle it and then return it as a new list. It actually shuffles the list. It might return it, but point is that it's also shuffling the list in place. So it actually modifies the original list that you passed to this function. So 2yy, let's just copy this and run this a few times. All right, so let's save it and let's run it again, and there we go. So yeah, here we've shuffled the list a few times, and we get a few different ways to arrange the same list. So that's about all I wanted to show you with random numbers. Wish I could have told you more about the rand range function and why it behaves that way. But in any case, that's about it for today. You might want to give me a thumbs up, but more importantly, leave a comment down below if you know something that I don't know, or if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever you want to say. I probably do want to hear it. So leave a comment down below, not just for me, but for the next person that comes along, watching this video also. Also, you might want to hit the subscribe button. We cover a lot of interesting things. We have a lot more advanced coding tutorials too, and not just coding. We do coding in different languages, but we also do servers, electronics, single board computers, 3D printing, networking, all sorts of great tech-related stuff that you're not going to want to miss. So hit that subscribe button for a better YouTube feed, and also you probably want to hit the little bell icon. Just otherwise, YouTube's probably not going to let you know when we come out with a new video. So that's about it for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time.